got to see Mr. O'Keefe, I would approximate probably like 12:30, maybe 1 o'clock-ish.
Why did you want to see him specifically?
I wanted to see the injuries for myself, the location of the injuries, the types of injuries, the extent of the injuries, and overall condition that his body was in would be very telling. The mechanism of injury, how it might have taken place, and also the correlation of any evidence at the scene with those injuries.
Now, you don't have any medical degrees, do you?
I do not, no.
How about biomechanical engineering?
No.
Do you have life and job experience in these situations?
Yes, 20 plus years of law enforcement investigating car crashes, pedestrian crashes, and 10 years in homicide.
Your role is not to make a diagnosis, is it?
No, it's not.
Is this information and your interpretation based on your experience important in guiding what you're going to do in the investigation?
Yes, it is very.
Do you ultimately get to Good Samaritan Hospital?
Yes, we do.
Okay, take us through what happens when you get there.
When we got to Good Samaritan Hospital, the driving conditions were treacherous. It took us 45 minutes from Canton Center, basically, to Good Sam, which should be a 15, 20-minute drive. At one point, I had to get off the highway because I couldn't tell if I was on the roadway, if I was off the roadway. So the guidance of trees on the side of the road through the town streets actually helped us guide the path to Good Samaritan. Once we arrived, we walked to the emergency department where Mr. O'Keefe was initially treated and where he remained. Upon arrival, we spoke with medical personnel who advised us that the defendant had at that point been discharged from the hospital and that Mr. O'Keefe was still in the emergency room and available for us to view.
At that point, you said the defendant had been discharged. She was not the defendant at that point.
No, she was not, no.
Did you have a chance to enter a room or actually see Mr. O'Keefe?
Yes, I did.
Had he passed at that time?
Yes, he has.
So when you walk in the room, what do you see?
When I walked into the room, I saw a medical bed in front of me. Mr. O'Keefe was covered with a sheet, as is typical with any victim that had passed. There was a pile of clothing to the left, at his feet to the left of the bed. I observed several injuries on him once I lifted the sheet, and those were documented with photographs by Crime Scene Services, a member of the state police, who also met us at the hospital for that purpose.
So there were other members of the team that were there to photograph
Yes.
Mr. O'Keefe and some of the injuries?
Yes.
How many people were in the room with you and Mr. Proctor when you were observing and viewing Mr. O'Keefe?
There was a total of 3 of us, myself, Mr. Proctor, the Crime Scene Services individual. There was medical staff coming in, nurses asking us if there was anything that we needed to assist us with. But from law enforcement, it was 3 of us there.
Now, I don't want you to try to give us a diagnosis or provide us an opinion of the cause of any injuries, but rather I want you to share with us, as you're observing Mr. O'Keefe in that hospital room, what are you seeing and what is standing out to you?
I saw pooling of blood underneath his head. There was seepage of blood into the sheets. There was also swelling, discoloration, a large amount of blood pooling underneath his eyelids. There was no abrasions or injuries that I observed to that region. So to me, through my training experience, I took that as subdural.
Not to any medical observations, but just you as law enforcement.
Yes, Your Honor.
I'd ask you not to give your personal interpretations of what you saw. Rather, I want you to share with the jury what you saw through your view.
There was also a tiny cut laceration to the eyelid area.
You're pointing to your right eye. Could you be
Yes.
specific, please?
Also on the left nostril, there was a very small laceration there. Both were not actively bleeding. There were a series of cuts and bruises to the right arm, which extended from approximately mid forearm up to the mid tricep area of Mr. O'Keefe, and they were concentrated on the exterior of the arm. There was no other injury or marks on the interior or inside of the arm. There was also a bruise on that same arm on the back of the hand. It was light in color. It wasn't a profound discoloration as the eyes appeared to me. There were also injuries to abrasion or cuts, scrapes to the knee, I believe.
Which knee?
The right knee. I apologize.
You had first described swelling in the right eye, and then you had just said the eyes. Could you be specific? Was the swelling in one or both eyes when you saw Mr. O'Keefe?
When I saw Mr. O'Keefe, the swelling was in both eyes. It might not have been exactly symmetrical, but there was swelling, discoloration in both eyelids of Mr. O'Keefe. There was also blood pooling in the cavity of the eyeball, both sides of the eyeballs.
Do you know about what time it was that you visited Mr. O'Keefe and made these observations?
It was sometime between 12:30, 1 o'clock, and 2 o'clock, I would assume.
You mentioned that there was pooling on the back of Mr. O'Keefe's head. Did you look for any injury?
Yes, we looked for injury. All I could tell, there was bleeding happening. I could not tell exactly what the extent of the injury was, not being a medical professional.
You mentioned there were a pile of clothes in the floor. Is that uncommon?
No, it's not uncommon at all.
Did you have any opportunity, or did you decide to look at those clothes?
Yes, what happens, the reason those clothes are on the floor is that for medical therapy, for medical treatment, the victim has their clothing removed for access to the body. There's obviously all sorts of equipment and medical procedure that's done. So that clothes is discarded. We knew that it was Mr. O'Keefe's clothing. We knew that it would be important to aid us in the investigation. So that clothing was picked up, identified item by item, and bagged. It was in a soaking wet state with moisture and other debris on it.
When you are looking at Mr. O'Keefe, do you have to touch him and move him?
Yes, during our investigations, we're not simply looking at photographs. We are there in the scene. We are smelling it. We are touching it. We are, unfortunately, with certain pungent scenes, we were tasting it. That's the reality of us breathing in the scene when we're living it through the investigation.
Do you wear any type of protection?
Absolutely. We wear gloves. At times, we wear other PPE, personal protective equipment.
When you looked at Mr. O'Keefe's clothes, you said that you bagged them. Did anything stand out in particular about his set of clothing?
In particular, we were missing a sneaker of his. That was very significant to me. It caused me to have Michael Proctor contact the paramedics that transported Mr. O'Keefe to the hospital and confirm with them, conduct a secondary check, that that sneaker was not left behind in the ambulance.
Why was the missing sneaker significant to you at that point?
At that point, our theory had evolved to a vehicle strike based on the injuries, and I was suspecting that he was hit out of his shoes.
Is there a phrase that's common in these type of situations?
Yes.
What's that?
Knocked out of your shoes?
Did you know where the other sneaker was?
I did not, no. But I suspected, since it was missing, and once the reports came in that the paramedics, EMT personnel did not find the other sneaker, that it would be somewhere where Mr. O'Keefe was found or where he was initially struck by a vehicle.
Did you and Mr. Proctor have an opportunity around that time, 12:30, 1 o'clock, to go back to that address to look for the sneaker?
We did not know.
Why not?
Again, during the critical early hours of an investigation, timing is essential. We have to make sure we get to any and every location that could possibly have evidence and prevent that evidence from being destroyed, altered, or concealed. So we are prioritizing missions. And with the resources available at that time, I conferenced with my boss and advised him of the current status of the information that we had. And he stated that he would go out and marshal up resources to conduct a search